I'm disappointed in Putin, I'll tell you. I'm very disappointed in him. I settled 7 wars at least, but I settled 7 wars, all of which they said were not settlable. And I got them done. And, you know, the ones I'm not going to bore you going over a long list, but they were wars that were very tough to settle. The relationship between President Putin and President Zelensky is a horrible one. I mean, you know, it's a lot to do with relationships. They truly dislike each other. I want to use that word rather than a stronger word, but they really do. They hate each other. I was unhappy with the European Union, or let's say NATO, when I saw that they were buying oil from Russia. I mean, I'm supposed to be coming in with the United States, and, you know, I took a tough stand on, as you know, India, because they were buying oil. And ultimately, if oil prices go down, or if Russia's not selling oil, they have no choice but to settle. And when the European Union nations, or the NATO nations, because they're similar, very similar, when they're buying oil from Russia, that's not the greatest thing. That's not the deal. And I let it be known, and people were surprised to hear that, but they were doing it quietly and slyly. And you can't do that. You know, if you're going to win, you're going to have to not buy oil from Russia.
Mr. President, you say that President Putin has let you down. Have negotiations run out of road, and what are your next steps to compel an end to this war?
Well, he has let me down. I mean, he's killing many people, and he's losing more people than he's killing. I mean, frankly, the Russian soldiers are being killed at a higher rate than the Ukrainian soldiers. But, yeah, he said, let me down. I don't like to see. It's death. You know, it doesn't affect the United States. We have, other than unless you end up in a world war over this thing, you could. This was a thing that would have never happened had I been president. If I were president, it would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. Most people agree it didn't happen, nor was it close to happening. And I spoke to President Putin about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. I've said that many times. It was. But he would have never done what he did, except that he didn't respect the leadership of the United States.
Romania claims it was forced to deploy fighter jets after a Russian drone breached its airspace during an attack on Ukraine. It's the latest NATO member state to report an incursion after Poland reported a similar incident just last week. And all this comes as Russia and Belarus hold joint military drills over the Barents Sea.
On NATO's doorstep, Russia is rehearsing for war. On land, at sea, and in the air. The joint military drills with Belarus are the first since Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Nervous times for those next door. In Poland, they see big red warning lights and have closed their border with Belarus in response.
Robimy to ze względu na bezpieczeństwo naszych obywateli.
We are doing this for the safety of our citizens. Russia has been behaving aggressively towards Poland in recent days, and for many years has been behaving aggressively towards the entire civilized world. To ensure the safety of our citizens, we are forced to make these decisions.
Adding to concerns are the recent Russian drone incursions. First in Poland, which shot down some of the drones. Then in Romania this weekend, where fighter jets were scrambled as a precaution. And now there are more in the skies above Eastern Europe, after NATO bolstered its defences. Here in Minsk and in Moscow, the authorities insist the drills are defensive, that they're not aimed at anybody and that concerns over them are misplaced. But the last time they were held 4 years ago, it led to a massive build-up of Russian troops in Belarus that was then used a few months later for Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. And so this time, Belarus's neighbours aren't taking any chances. There's a feeling in the West that it's a test of NATO's defences.
There are several strategic goals here that both countries, the Union state, Belarus and Russia, are trying to achieve. Scare, show that they are capable, show that they can threaten, and of course also checking what reactions and response could be.
For NATO, it's a fresh chance to scrutinise Russia's military. After 3.5 years of combat in Ukraine. But it would feel a lot more comfortable if this wasn't so close to home. Ivor Bennett, Sky News, Minsk.
Russia and Belarus are holding a joint military exercise involving thousands of troops right on NATO's doorstep. It's a worry to some Western countries who see the exercise as a simulation of how troops could occupy a vital corridor between Lithuania and Poland.
It is a show of strength at a time of tension. Troops and tanks. Artillery and ammunition. Even airstrikes 150 kilometres from NATO's eastern border. Russia and Belarus say they were practicing how to respond to an attack by a NATO member. But this felt like it was part training, part theatre, a performance for an audience watching at home and abroad.
The sound of these exercises is absolutely deafening. You can feel the force of the explosions vibrating through you. And that's the point here. It is designed to intimidate and to send a message that despite the costs and casualties incurred in Ukraine, Russia is still a force to be reckoned with.
Moscow began that war shortly after its last joint exercises here. Russian troops in Belarus were used for the invasion. This time, the Allies insist there's no cause for concern.
These exercises, in our opinion, are unprecedentedly open to the world. We pose no threat to anyone. We are for building a constructive and pragmatic dialogue.
But NATO members nearby are nervous because of images like this. A nuclear-capable ballistic missile system used for drills in Kaliningrad. And all this comes after the recent Russian drone incursions into NATO airspace. Back in Belarus, drones were on display, including one called Peacemaker, but it's peace that comes with a payload. And among those observing the drones and the drills, officials from the United States. What do you think of the exercises? Is Poland right to be concerned about them? Most NATO members, though, are happy to keep their distance.